Hello kind people of YouTube and welcome back to another video. We have a lot to talk about today, so let's jump into it with a quick look at the markets before we're looking at the news. A lot to talk about today. Now, we are seeing significant stabilization today with the only coin in the top 10 that is showing major losses being Bitcoin Cash, down over 5%. Which is not good at all, but significantly better than the 40% a day losses we saw earlier this week. But aside from that, we see most everything here trading sideways. You see here Bitcoin 0.09% up, XRP 0.22 down, Ethereum down 1, most of the others up or down about 1% or less. Now, once you get out of the top 10, you see larger market movements, with a lot of the altcoins making pretty significant gains or losses. Here you see Aurora up 25%. But for the biggest part, the markets are very much going sideways and with some coins showing significant recoveries after the recent crashes. But as a whole, the market cap is at roughly the same amount it has been for a couple days now. And the 24-hour volume is falling, so there's less movement going on the markets now, at just about 14 billion. Before the crash, we were dealing with 11 to 12 billion a day. Right after the crash, we had over 20 billion in movement. So significantly less movement in the markets. It seems to be quieting down. A lot of people are predicting further market crashes. A Bitcoin price of anything between 1,500 and 3,000 is being thrown around a lot. Now, we could very well see that happening, but as of right now, it's looking like the markets are stabilizing at their new amount of about 150 billion after we had them at about 200 billion for a couple of weeks. So not that much to look at in the markets today. Let's look at some actual news. And as we were just noticing Bitcoin Cash falling more than all others, let's talk about the results of the hard fork. Now, the hard fork, of course, credited widely with being the catalyst for the market crash, of dragging everything else down along with it. I have talked about it extensively here, but so I'm not going to get into my opinion or into any of the details of what happened here. But the important thing now is to look towards the future of Bitcoin Cash. And the number one question, of course, is which of the two versions, Bitcoin Cash ABC or Bitcoin Cash SV, will be considered Bitcoin Cash from now on? And as we have pretty much expected since the beginning, since days before the fork, when first exchanges came out saying they would support it, Bitcoin Cash ABC has now pretty much become Bitcoin Cash in the eyes of most people. All the articles, of course, linked in the description. I'm not always reading them out fully. It's been a week since the Bitcoin Cash hard fork happened and the hash war kicked off. Bitcoin Cash ABC and Bitcoin Cash SV have been battling it out to edge each other out, and this has caused serious ripple effects across the whole crypto market. Bitcoin has lost over 20% of its previous value, bringing it down over 75% of its peak 2017 value. At the moment, Bitcoin Cash ABC seems to be winning the hash rate war with more blocks mined than Bitcoin Cash SV. However, there seems to be yet another war to be fought, since the two have been engaged in a battle primarily meant to define the sole successor to Bitcoin Cash. Both the crypto's ticker on exchanges as well as its Bitcoin Cash designation have been the other main bones of contention. Bitcoin Cash ABC is doing great, and not just in terms of hash rate. Since the battle started, the crypto has received tremendous support from some very influential quarters. Roger Ver pledged his support and redirected his company's mining resources to mine Bitcoin Cash ABC. John McAfee has also been quoted as pronouncing his unending support to Bitmain's Jihan Wu. Besides winning individual hearts, Bitcoin Cash ABC seems to have wooed exchanges and influential market entities too. Some big exchanges are now unlocking Bitcoin Cash accounts and transactioning the tokens in them into Bitcoin Cash ABC. Some have even given them the designation of Bitcoin Cash, pronouncing it as the successor. On CoinMarketCap, ABC is now listed as Bitcoin Cash, making it the fourth largest cryptocurrency on the market. Now, the important takeaway here is that general sentiment on the markets, and this is very unlikely to now change, is that Bitcoin Cash ABC is Bitcoin Cash now, much like how much like how Bitcoin forked into Bitcoin Core and Bitcoin Cash, and Bitcoin Core is generally just referred to as Bitcoin. This is the same here now. From now on, whenever you see anyone talk about Bitcoin Cash, assume that they mean the ABC fork, not the SV fork. And the SV fork is pretty damn worthless at this point. While Bitcoin Cash in general has lost tremendous value, it is down to just over a third of its value about a week ago. Bitcoin Cash, Satoshi's vision, is down even further. As the article here states, that is at position 173, not even in the top 100, and trading at $51 per token. So they lost another 75% of the value. That is embarrassing. Bitcoin Cash Satoshi's vision is not doing well. This reminds me of I don't know if you guys remember, it depends on how closely you have been following the markets and for how long. But after Bitcoin was hard forked to create Bitcoin Cash, there was just a massive amount of additional hard forks coming because people saw an opportunity to make quick money. And a lot of them just completely crashed and burned to be worthless. We had Bitcoin Diamond, we had Bitcoin Gold, we had a billion others, and they pretty much everything after Bitcoin Cash just crashed and burned. And now we're seeing that with a hard fork of Bitcoin Cash as well, with only ABC making it, and Bitcoin Cash Satoshi's vision falling that much within days, and largely not being considered the real Bitcoin Cash. That is just sad. That is just sad. Especially since Bitcoin Cash Satoshi's vision was meant to get it closer to original Bitcoin, with the ultimate aim, of course, being to create the Bitcoin. Well, that did not work out. Going to France, tobacco shops are now going to sell Bitcoin from New Year's Day 2019. Now that is very unusual because we have seen Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general sold and traded in a lot of unusual places. But tobacco shops, that is a new one. French cryptocurrency adoption and usage are set to receive a minor boost from next year as the French Prudential Supervision and Resolution Authority, a regulatory offshoot of the Banque de France, has granted permission for tobacco shops in the country to sell Bitcoin from January 1st. According to a news report from Europe 1, the shops in question, which typically offer lottery tickets and cigarettes, will now begin to offer Bitcoin for sale via a partnership with the French fintech startup Caplark. The partnership with Caplark also includes a local cash register software provider, which will provide the infrastructure for selling Bitcoin to cigarette shop customers. These shops will sell a voucher to customers which can be redeemed for Bitcoin via their crypto wallet. According to Caplark, this marks the first time anywhere in the world that brick and mortar shops will sell Bitcoin to the general public. And that is pretty much all we have to read here to know what is going on here. This is very, very interesting. Now, of course, this is very much going for a mainstream audience. Most people going to tobacco stores are probably not going to be hardcore cryptocurrency investors, are not going to be long-time traders, are not going to be the people that are currently buying cryptocurrencies, which, going by most statistical information that we have seen and polls, most people in the crypto world seem to be somewhere between the late teens and the late 30s. There are, of course, tremendous amounts of exceptions, but there's very specific demographics that are heavily on the crypto wave, and the groups that we haven't quite been able to convince yet strike me as groups that might also be more likely to be frequenting tobacco shops. People from their 40s to 60s, for instance, that age group. Now, there's plenty people in that age group already in the crypto world, and they're of course not the only one going to tobacco shops, but I think this might mainstream cryptocurrency significantly in that portion of French society. We'll see how much they actually end up selling through this. I'm sure, since this is a collaboration with Caplark, I'm sure we will get some kinds of numbers from Caplark after the first quarter or 2 quarters, where they're trying to show off how well it worked, and then we'll see how much business there has been done. But it's definitely very, very interesting. I always applaud all ways to make cryptocurrencies more easily accessible for a lot of people who have been in the crypto world for a long time, for whom cryptocurrencies are pretty much second nature at this point. it's hard to understand how much of a barrier there is in the way for a lot of people to use cryptocurrencies. And a lot of this is just a mental barrier where people don't want to have to put in work, have to put in time, have to put in effort. But they are barriers to mainstream adoption nonetheless, whether you think people should just take the time out of their day to research, to do what they need to do. Those are still barriers regardless. And one big one is that just buying and selling cryptocurrencies is still a complicated process. You need to figure out the legal situation in your country. You need to figure out on which exchanges you can buy them. After you've signed up to an exchange, you generally need to comply with know your customer stuff. After you've bought it, if you want to actually keep it on a wallet, you need to figure out what a wallet is, how wallets work, which wallet is best for the particular token or coin that you want to store. That is a lot for people who aren't particularly tech savvy. Now, for a lot of us, it's very simple. We are used to this. We have been doing this for a while. We might be people that are generally more inclined to tech, but a lot of people are not. A lot of people can barely use a smartphone. And those are people who we ultimately want to get on the crypto train as well. And any ways to make buying and selling cryptocurrencies easier, simpler, especially from brick and mortar stores, that is awesome. Continuing on, BBVA and Santander join EU joint blockchain platform. Banking groups BBVA and Banco Santander have joined the EU International Association for Trusted Blockchain Applications. Spanish economic newspaper Expansion writes on November 20th. The representatives of two Spanish banking groups were invited to an EU blockchain roundtable held in Brussels by Maria Gabriel, the Commissioner for Digital Economy and Society, and Roberto Viola, Director of the EU Department of Communications, Networks, Content and Technology. According to a press release during the meeting, EU officials revealed that the IATBA, that is a mouthful, will launch in the first financial quarter of 2019. Their main aim is to develop EU blockchain regulation along with preparing the launch of EU-wide blockchain applications. BBVA and Santander are among the first 5 banks invited to join IATBA. The other members of the association have not yet been disclosed. And this is an association that 27 EU countries, now if you're not all that familiar with the EU, that is all but one EU country, are involved in. This is an EU level application, not application, platform. So this is pretty much going straight through governments. This is mainstream adoption if there is ever such a thing. This is governments actually not just allowing crypto, not just allowing blockchain, but actively involving themselves, trying to get banks, financial institutions, researchers involved. And BBVA and Santander, 2 huge banks, 2 of the first members. Now, if you remember, Santander already has a partnership going on, both in terms of blockchain with IBM, I believe, and a partnership with Ripple for use of their RippleNet platform. So there is significant interest by Santander in both blockchain and cryptocurrency already. That is only going to increase in the future. Some stablecoin news, which we have talked about a lot recently because of all the stuff that has been going on with Tether, which, by the way, still doesn't have dollar parity properly. 98.8 cents, and if you look at the last couple days here at the value, it was all the way down at 96 cents just the other day. So still doesn't have proper dollar parity. So because of all of the issues with Tether, where the price crashed, where it was out of parity for weeks, it got really close, but it's still not quite there yet. Between Tether not properly proving that their stablecoin is properly backed, we now have Circle's dollar-tied stablecoin getting an auditor's attestation, and they are the latest in the line of stablecoins that are doing a much better job at proving that they are fully backed than Tether. So let's read this. Circle Internet Financial had just under $127.5 million backing the dollar-pegged USD coin at the end of last month, enough to redeem every token at the time, according to a major auditing firm. Grant Thornton LLP, the US branch of Grant Thornton International, reported in an attestation dated November 16th that Circle had $127 million held in custody accounts as of October 31st, slightly exceeding the tokens in circulation at the time. As of press time, there were 162 million USD tokens and USDC tokens in circulation, according to CoinMarketCap. While not a full audit, the report confirmed information provided by Circle Chief Financial Officer Naeem Ishaq, I probably mispronounced that, I'm very sorry, about the funds backing up the stablecoin now jointly issued by Circle and Coinbase through the Center Consortium. In its report, Grant Thornton noted that its examination was conducted in accordance with attestation standards established by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, meaning that the nature, timing, and extent of the procedures selected depend on our judgment, including an assessment of the risks of material misstatement of the reserve account information, whether due to fraud or error. And the report states this. In making an assessment of the risks of material misstatement, we considered and obtained an understanding of internal control relevant to the preparation of and the reserve account information in the accompanying reserve account report in order to design procedures that are appropriate in the circumstances, but not for the purpose of expressing an opinion on the effectiveness of such internal control. Now, Gemini and Paxos also have published attestations like this, but notably, and as this article mentions here as well, Tether has not. All we got from Tether was a letter from their bank stating they had a portfolio cash value of a certain amount. Now, I talked about why this isn't enough when this was first released, because their claim is that they have to claim that something is fully backed means that you have say you have $1 million in token value out there. That means somewhere in a bank account you have to have $1 million consistently. Now, all that Tether proved was that at that day, their entire portfolio, which doesn't necessarily have to be just US dollars, it's that portfolio, we don't know what that is, had the appropriate amount in it. That was after they wiped out $500 million worth of their token. So that raised questions of, did they not have enough money before? Did they have to remove these tokens so they would have enough money? Additionally, it raised questions of, do they always have enough money or only on that specific date where they got the assurance? They could have borrowed that money and given it back the very next day. And additionally, there was I just lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. But yeah, the issues were, did they have enough money when they had more coins? Do they have that kind of money on every single day? And is that actually all US dollars, or is that other assets equivalent to US dollars? Which, when you're claiming that your stablecoin is US dollar backed, you want that backing to be actual US dollars and not other things of equivalent value, because then you're making a misleading claim. So here we have yet another coin, USDC, just lifting itself up against Tether, and Tether is really dealing with some terrible public image right now, and it's getting worse with any passing day, where they don't get audited properly, where other stablecoins do get audited, get attestations properly. This is just not good for Tether. And finishing up the video with more not so good news, KuCoin or KuCoin, I don't know what the exchange is actually called, to delist 6 tokens. Now, this happens relatively frequently, and it's generally a good thing for the markets, for small tokens that no one is using, that no one is trading, that have questionable value, questionable use cases, questionable teams behind them, to be removed from exchanges, but it still hurts for the coins that do get removed. And this time, these 6 coins they're removing are Encryptgen, Publica, Raiden Network Token, Monetha, Block Mason Credit Protocol, and Gladius Token. Now, I have to admit here, as someone who has been in the crypto world for years, I only recognize 2 of these names. I recognize Publica and Raiden Network Token. And I wouldn't be able to tell you what any of these are for, what any of these have been used in, who is associated with any of these. I wouldn't be able to tell you anything about these. So we can be pretty reasonably sure that these are almost certainly what people would call shitcoins. Sorry for the vulgar language. Which are pretty much just coins that have no particular use, that don't have a strong development team behind them, that don't have a large user base, that are just nothing coins. That just exist. Hundreds, if not thousands, of cryptocurrencies, of blockchains were created in the last 2 bull markets, because everyone wanted a slice of the cake. And in that we had a lot of projects that don't really do anything. Some were outright scams. I'm not trying to imply that any of these 6 tokens are outright scams. They probably wouldn't be on this exchange in the first place if they were. But in general, it ranged from outright scams to just coins that didn't seem to do anything, that didn't have a reason to exist, and a lot of them just die down over time and then they get removed from exchanges, and that seems to be what is happening here. Now, if you have any of these tokens, and especially if you hold them on this exchange, make sure to get them off there soon. I believe you have a couple days. Deposits and orders cease today, but you will have some more time to get them out. The trading pairs will be closed tomorrow, and withdrawals will be active for 12 whole months, so you don't really have to worry about losing your tokens as long as you do it in the next 12 months. But still do this sooner rather than later, and honestly, these will almost certainly crash in value after this. They probably already crashed after this announcement, so get out of these coins. Get out of these coins and invest in legitimate, well-respected, well-documented projects that have use cases, that have a user base, that have active development behind them. Invest in projects that you can assess, that have future potential, and not just in any random thing that is cheap right now. That is an important message that for a lot of you is probably self-explanatory and just completely obvious, but a lot of people get into the crypto space and they see, hey, Bitcoin went from cents to thousands, so why shouldn't I buy this random coin that is worth cents? And they buy a bunch of random cheap coins. They don't look into what they are, they don't look into if they have any real future potential, they just buy anything, and unfortunately a lot of people do that, and that way a lot of money is lost. When you see people investing thousands or hundreds of thousands sometimes even, and losing most if not all of it, that is usually because they invested in projects like these, and this doesn't need to happen. Just be careful with your investments. Make sure you know exactly what the coins you're investing in do, that you know who is behind them, which companies, which banks, which websites, which apps they're working with, who is developing for them, that they're on more than just one exchange. That is usually a massive red flag in most cases. Just all around, be careful. And that is my message for today. Be careful. And with that, I'm going to end this video. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you're not subscribed to my channel already, what is wrong with you? Subscribe. I do this every single day. I go through the news, I look at the markets, and I talk about this stuff. And it's always fun. It's always fun. We're having a discussion here between me and the commenters. It's always fun. In the description, you will find links to all these articles so you can read them yourself and verify that I didn't bullshit you about any of this. You will also find my social media links, and if you are so inclined, there are ways to support the channel, and I appreciate any donation or any Patreon subscription. It's highly appreciated. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back with you guys tomorrow.